Namaste, welcome to Vinyasa Flow Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. Physically in the practice today, we'll be opening up the fronts of the shoulders, stretching the neck a bit, and you'll want to have 2 blocks and a strap just in case. And I invite you to start in Hero's Pose if that feels appropriate for you. Hero's Pose or Virasana is where you set your knees in front of you, either sitting directly on your calves like this or on a prop such as a block between your ankles. And to help safely align your knees, try not to turn out or in your feet, but point your toes directly back. And then I invite you to take a moment to pause and mentally arrive in your yoga practice. I want to take us all the way back to the beginning, the very, very first limb of yoga. In fact, the very first yama, which is the practices of the first limb of yoga, called ahimsa, often called by many as the most important practice of yoga because it's the first. And ahimsa, translated literally, is non-violence or non-harm. I love this simplified translation from the book The Inspired Yoga Teacher by Gabrielle Harris. And she says, ahimsa is the basic act of being kind to yourself and to others in what you say, do, think, eat, buy, take in. Ahimsa is summed up beautifully by Jon Kabat-Zinn in his book, Wherever You Go, There You Are. Why not try to live to cause as little damage and suffering as possible? So I'd like to start with dissecting ahimsa today. Let's start with ourselves, and more specifically, how we practice self-compassion, especially when moments arise that we might not be feeling adequate or good enough, or we might be feeling some sort of discomfort or difficult emotion coming up, or we make a mistake. How do you talk to yourself within your own minds and cultivate the practice? And I want to emphasize the word practice of self-compassion, because it is something that we need to do intentionally over and over again so that it becomes one of our natural practices. So I want to share 3 components to mindful self-compassion as outlined by Dr. Kristen Neff, a well-known founder of the Center of Mindful Self-Compassion. And she says, number 1, it needs to include, of course, self-kindness versus self-judgment. Like I mentioned before, like when you make a mistake, how do you talk to yourself in your mind? Are you able to forgive yourself and acknowledge the mistake and give yourself permission to move on and learn from it, rather than criticizing yourself over and over again, judging yourself, or even labeling yourself a horrible person, right? To take it to an extreme. So self-kindness, finding a true, authentic gesture of warmth to give yourself, to wish yourself to be relieved of suffering. And number 2, mindful self-compassion, as she says, includes acknowledging that we are, that the suffering that you're experiencing is part of our common humanity, rather than moving into isolation and thinking that we're alone in our suffering, whatever it is, sadness, pain, anger, disappointment. So remembering that this is part of the human experience. And the 3rd component of mindful self-compassion is mindfulness over or versus over identifying with whatever the experience is that's triggering suffering or the difficult emotion itself. So rather than suppressing the difficult emotion, or on the other extreme, over identifying or exaggerating it, we come into this mindful awareness state of like, okay, this is what it is. This is how the emotion feels in my body. Just like when we practice RAIN, that acronym, that mindful meditation, we'll bring it back again soon. So food for thought. How do you practice authentic self-compassion in your daily life? And I invite you to bring that into your practice today. Let's begin to assess what we are bringing into our practice, beginning with the physical body. Scanning your awareness throughout your body. Notice what you're sensing. Noticing without judging it, but cultivating mindful awareness of what's present. Attune to the breath in its natural state right now. And notice how you're feeling in your energy. Now, what feels alive in your heart and mind at this moment, mentally and emotionally? Let the breath in a little deeper. Exhale through your mouth. Inhaling a little slower. And let it go. As you continue to deepen your breath, call to mind something right now that you appreciate about yourself. What do you appreciate about yourself? And then start to pinpoint an intention for your practice today. What are you welcoming in to your experience? Now, as we practice self-compassion and self-care through our yoga today, it's not a selfish act. It's starting within ourselves so that we can pour that onto others, that same care, kindness, compassion. So I invite you to choose someone or something that you would like to pour that kindness to today, dedicating this practice to them. And together, let's join our voices to chant Om, the sacred sound, 3 times. Let's begin to practice Ujjayi Pranayama, or victorious breathing, a way to calm and focus our mind, hearts, and bodies while inviting balance in our energy. So as you close the lips, softly constrict the back of your throat, create a gentle whispering sound to the breath. As you listen to it, lengthen your in-breath as slowly as your out-breath. And then release the hands if they're together, and let's start to gently circle the head, bringing a stretch into the neck. So as you breathe in, drop your chin to your chest. Lower your left ear to your left shoulder. Exhaling as you look up. Rolling your right ear to your right shoulder. Inhaling, look down. And feel free to go as slowly as it's comfortable for you, taking another circle in this direction. Now let's go in the opposite direction. Inhale, roll your right ear to your right shoulder. Gently look up. Left ear to left shoulder. Slowly look down. And take another circle in this direction. Let's continue the movement into the shoulders and spine. Come on down to your hands and knees. And let's take a few cycles of cat-cow or Vinyasa as you breathe in. Glide your chest forward, roll your shoulders back and down, look up. Cow pose. As you breathe out, contract your abdomen, drop your head slowly and round your back, cat pose. Again, inhale, draw your chest forward, slowly coil it up. Exhale, lift the belly in, drop your head to round. And keep going, maybe another 3 cycles of breath. So how will you practice tuning into your body and really listening to what arises, whether mentally or physically or energetically, from posture to posture? Bringing that practice of listening to create awareness, to then practice self-compassion. Let's start to lower. Chest to the floor, hug the elbows to the ribs, lower the chin, slither all the way down to your belly, and rest your forehead on the ground. Slide the knees close together, point the toes back, and press the tops of your feet firmly into the ground. Reach your hands behind your lower back to bring both of your shoulders into extension. If you can, hug the heels of your palms together to touch. Keep pressing your toenails into the floor. And as you breathe in, draw both shoulder heads behind you, gently lifting your chest, then your head slowly. As you breathe out, gently release chest and forehead, but keep the hands together clasped. Let's go in and out of bound locust pose like this twice more to the breath. Keep pressing your feet into the ground. Inhale, roll the shoulders behind you, lift your chest, look on the floor ahead. Exhale, gently lower. One last time, inhale, peel the shoulders behind, and then lift your chest, then lift your head. Exhale, release. This time, place your hands alongside your ribs, bring the heels of your palms beside your floating ribs, and hug your elbows close to your rib cage. Once again, press the tops of your feet down. Now start with rolling your shoulders back. And inhale, lift the chest, broaden the collarbones. Let's pause here in cobra pose for about 4 more breaths. Now keep pressing the feet into the ground, all toenails, and hover your hands an inch off the floor. Draw your shoulder heads further back and lengthen the back of your neck by looking slightly down. Take another deep breath and broaden the collarbones wide apart. Gently lower the hands, and then one more inhale. Coil the chest further open if possible, cobra pose. Tuck your toes, press up to plank pose, and lift your hips back to downward facing dog. Allow a few breaths to move your body any way might be asking you to loosen it up. Listening to the balance that you can hear in the lengths of your breaths. The balance of in and out. And then start to walk to the top of your mat, arriving in a standing forward fold. Feet hips distance, parallel. Press your fingertips on your shins, blocks, or the ground. And inhale, stretch your spine forward, come up halfway. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hinge from your hips and drop your head. Relax your neck to fold. Uttanasana. One more time, press with your hands firmly. And inhale, reach your chest through your upper arms. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hinge from your hips. Bow in. Uttanasana. Firm down to your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms forward and slowly rise all the way up. Roll your shoulders back and down as you look up. Urdhva Hastasana. As you exhale, join your hands in prayer from your crown to your heart center. Standing tall in Padasana, hands in prayer in mountain pose. Connect again to your intention for this practice today. Practicing gratitude as well as we offer gratitude to the sun, a great source of energy. Surya Namaskar C, sun salutation C. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, roll your shoulders back and down. Exhale, hinge forward from your hips. Plant your fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step your left knee behind you into a kneeling lunge, gaze up. As you hold your breath, step into plank pose. Exhale, lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin in Ashtangasana. Inhale, slide forward, draw your shoulder heads back, root down to the tops of the feet in Cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhale, tuck your toes, press up, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb, lower your right knee and gaze up, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow, Uttanasana. Root down, inhale, rise slowly to the top, Urdhva Hastasana with a back bend. Exhale, join your hands at your heart center, Padasana. Side two, once more. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, gaze up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Plant the fingertips down. Inhale, this time step the right knee back, Anjaneyasana, look up, keep the hands down. Hold your breath as you step to plank. Exhale, lower knees, chest, then chin in Ashtangasana. Inhale, slide forward into Bhujangasana, Cobra pose. Exhale, press up to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower left knee, gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and bow. Press to your feet, inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands together at your hearts. Let's move into Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, look up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Press your hands on your shins, blocks or the floor. Inhale, lengthen to Ardha Uttanasana. Carefully step into your version of plank pose. Now this time, engage your abdomen and exhale, shift forward. Graze your elbows by your ribs in Chaturanga Dandasana. And either lower to Cobra or flip your toes halfway down. Keep the pelvis lifted and upward facing dog. Exhale, lift your hips back into downward facing dog. Invite you to still your body for 2 deep breaths here. Listen in. When you've emptied the second, walk or float to the front of your mat. Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Root down, inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands in Padasana. Once more, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Step to plank or lower knees, chest, chin, or float to Chaturanga if that's part of your practice. Take it to your own version of your Vinyasa. And let's pause in downward dog again for 2 deep breaths. Tuning inward. When you've emptied the second breath, walk or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Rooting down, inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands together, Padasana. And let's move into Surya Namaskar B. Bring the inner edges of your big toes to touch. Inhale, bend your knees together to touch. Sit back towards your heels in chair pose, Utkatasana. As you exhale, shift your weight forward and hinge from your hips, Uttanasana. Press with your hands again. Inhale, lengthen to Ardha Uttanasana. Step back or float back. Insert your vinyasa here. At downward facing dog, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, gently step the foot beside your right thumb. Spin your left heel down. Inhale, rise to stand in warrior one. Ride your exhalation all the way down into your version of your vinyasa. Downward dog, side two. Inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale, softly step the foot beside your left thumb and spin your right heel down. Inhale, rise to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale all the way down into your version of Vinyasa. When you arrive at downward dog, cultivate stillness as you steady your gaze, or drishti. 3 or so breaths, slowing down and resteadying your breathing. How are you taking care of your body and listening to it here? Remember that you always have option to practice a posture in a different variation or a different way. There's not only one way to practice a pose. For example, downward dog, you could place your knees on the floor and bow forward. You could also take moments of rest, whether that means child's pose, sitting down, or slowing down. When you're ready, empty the breath and walk or float to the front of your mat. Feet touching. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees together. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale to rise up. Let's step the feet apart here, hips distance parallel, and bring your hands together at your heart. Now try to keep your two hips equally facing forward. As you inhale, bend the left knee in front of you and flex the foot. Now drop the left sitting bone so it's leveled with the right sitting bone, and start to move through warrior three, leaning your torso forward, press the left foot back, taking your time in warrior three to step the ball of your left foot to the rear of your mat. Maybe you pause a few breaths in Virabhadrasana 3, playing with your balance. When you do arrive in crescent lunge, make sure your feet are hips width apart, both hips equally facing forward, and pause for a few deep breaths, steadying your gaze. Warrior two, spin the left heel down, align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Steadying your gaze past the right fingertips. Let's bring the left shoulder into extension. Wrap the left arm behind your back as far as it'll go. Flip the right palm to face up. Maybe sink the hips a little lower. As you breathe in, lift your spine taller. Keep the right knee bent facing forward and exhale, side bend towards your rear wall in peaceful warrior. Breathe deeply into your right side body. Now I'm going to invite you to keep this left arm bound behind you as you rise up and straighten your right leg. Now you might shorten your stance a couple inches for triangle pose. Let's keep the arms like this for a moment. Glide your hips sideways towards the back of the room. Lengthen your torso actively towards the front of the room. Right arm is extending towards the front wall as you spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Once again, steadying your eyes. When you're ready, traditional triangle pose. Lower the right fingertips on your right shin or just to the right of it, maybe on a block, and raise your left arm straight up. Drawing the shoulder blades down the back, keep spinning the chest slightly to face up. Now, when you have that left shoulder in extension behind you, notice the effect now of promoting that left collarbone to broaden from the sternum just a bit more. Couple more breaths in Trikonasana. Inhale back to warrior two, bend the right knee. Exhale, step up, front of your mat. All right, step the feet hips width apart. Join your hands in prayer and steady your gaze. Flex your right foot as you bend the knee in front of you. Balance your two hips in height. Allow a few breaths to pass through warrior three, creating a horizontal line through the midline of your body. Taking your time to eventually step the ball of your right foot back, entering crescent lunge, feet hips width apart and parallel. Keep your hips facing forward. Slightly lift your frontal hip bones. Warrior two, spin the right heel down, align left heel to intersect the arch of the right foot, and steady your gaze past the left fingertips. Keep your left knee bent, wrap the right arm behind you, bringing the right shoulder into extension. Flip the left palm to face up, lift the spine and side bend towards your rear wall. Peaceful warrior. Breathe deeply into your left side body. Now let's straighten the left leg, rise up, maybe shorten your stance a couple inches for triangle pose with your arms like this for the first few breaths. Glide your hips towards the back wall, lengthen your torso towards the front. Seal in your front ribs and spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Make sure not to lock your left knee here. You might micro bend it. And then when you're ready, start to open the arms in traditional triangle pose, placing the left fingertips on your left shin or just to the left of it, maybe on a block. Encouraging that right collarbone to continue splaying from the sternum. Feel the energy extending up and out to your right fingertips. Let's exit differently. Look at the ground at your left foot. Cartwheel your hands and step back to downward dog or take a vinyasa to get there. Downward facing dog. Inhale, raise the right leg behind you. Exhale, step the foot beside the right thumb and spin the left heel down. Warrior one, inhale to rise. With your two hips facing forward, both feet entirely on the floor, backstroke your arms and clasp your hands behind your lower back. Humble or devotional warrior. Breathe in, lift your heart, gaze up. Then start to bow forward, either resting on your front thigh or lowering your head on the inside of the ankle. Keep drawing the right hip back. Use the weight of the back heel to balance your forward fold. Relax your neck and lift the shoulders away from it while stretching the arms forward. Now look at the ground on the left side of your front foot. Lower both hands there and set the left knee on the ground. Lizard lunge. Step the right foot to the right, 3 to 5 more inches. And notice if it might help to place your hands on blocks so that you can breathe well and relax the shoulders. Scoot your left knee back an inch or two and bend it. Now, we're going to backstroke the right arm to catch hold of the left foot. So to help reach, in case you might need it, you could stack a couple of blocks and plant your left hand on that. Then backstroke the right arm. So we're going to continue bringing the right shoulder into extension here. And once you have the foot, lean your torso towards the front of your mat. Bring the foot gently towards your glutes. Some of you might have left hand on the floor and that's comfortable, or left forearm on the floor, and that's fine. And decide how you want to open up the right hip. You can keep the right foot flat on the floor, facing forward, or to get into the IT band region, flex the right foot and splay the thigh open. Either way, tack your right outer hip back. Draw the left shoulder blade away from the ear. A few more deep breaths. Release the left leg and step back to downward facing duck. Inhale, raise the left leg back. Exhale the foot beside left thumb, spin the right heel down. Warrior one, inhale to rise. Virabhadrasana one. So hips equally facing forward, back leg straight, front knee bent. Backstroke your arms and maybe switch the cross of your thumb and index finger on top as you interlace the fingers. Roll the shoulders back and down. Then start to bow forward into humble or devotional warrior. Relax your neck and stretch the arms away from your lower back. With a little bend in the elbows, help to lift the shoulders away from your neck. Look at the ground on the right side of your front foot. Lower both hands there and set your right knee to the floor for lizard lunge. Scoot your left foot to the left 3 to 5 inches and bend your right knee. Scoot it back an inch or 2. Now notice if it's helpful to place your hands on blocks or to stack a couple of blocks for your right hand so that you can backstroke the left arm to reach the right foot. Now, some of you might have the right hand on the ground comfortably or the right forearm on the ground comfortably. Lean your torso towards the front of your mat and tack your left outer hip back. How did you practice the hip opening on your first side of this pose? Either keep the left foot flat on the floor facing forward, or flex the foot and splay the thigh open, leaning on the outer edge of the foot. Try to do the same, though the degree of it might be different, as you did on the first side. A few more deep breaths. All right, this time let's step into plank pose to pause. Just a few breaths in plank. Lifting the sides of your belly, pressing your inner heels back, lengthening your sternum and the top of your head forward while you rotate your triceps towards the rear of your mat. 2 more deep breaths. Take your time, slowly moving forward through Chaturanga Dandasana. Maybe even pause in Chaturanga for a full cycle of breath. Then eventually lower face down on your belly and slide your knees close together for our last 2 back bends in bow pose. Bending both knees, reach back with your hands to catch your feet or your ankles. Press your pubic bone into the ground. Kick your feet back as you pull them towards you, lifting your knees. Draw your shoulder heads back and look slightly down. Give it about 5 breaths on this first of 2 rounds before you lower to rest. Now remember to support your lower back by not splaying your knees wider apart than your hips distance. When you're done, relax your body in stillness for 2 to 3 breaths. Observe what you're feeling in your body. Last round of Dhanurasana. Slide your knees close together. You might switch up what you're holding, your inner feet or your outer feet or ankles. And if you're holding your ankles, you may want to flex your feet. Take this last round for 5 to 10 deep breaths before you lower to rest. And this time when you lower to rest, you might windshield wiper your shins side to side to bring some ease into your lower back. Breathe deep into your belly, help to stimulate your digestion. And exhale slower through the mouth, helping to release heat as we cool down. And let's press back to downward facing dog. Preparing for single pigeon pose. Slide your right shin across your mat in front of your pelvis and lower to sit with the left leg straight behind you. Square both hips evenly to face the front of your mat. Notice if it's helpful to place a prop under your right glute to keep that. Relax the back toes, breathe in, lift your chest, stay here, or start to bow forward for a few deep breaths. Now, if you're bowing forward, you could add thread the needle twist, sliding the left arm under the right bent elbow as you rest the left side of your head on the ground or a block. Now, take your time to gently step back into downward facing dog. You might raise your right leg up and give it some movement at your right hip. Or you might flip it over into Wild Thing if you're feeling the itch for another back bend. Take your time setting up side two in single pigeon. When you're ready, start at downward dog and turn out your left thigh at the hip. Bend the knee towards the left wall. Slide the shin in front of your pelvis. Straighten the right leg behind you. Square your hips evenly to face the front of your mat. Maybe placing a prop under the left glute if needed. And then inhale, lift your chest. Take your time. Stay here or fold forward or spinal twist if you did on the first side. If you're twisting on this side, slide the right arm under the left bent elbow and lower the right side of your head. Tune into your breath. Make your way back to one last downward facing dog. Maybe lifting your left leg and giving it some movement at the hip. Or if you did so on your first side, flipping it over into Wild Thing. Let's eventually meet in child's pose. Feet together, knees together or apart, sinking your hips all the way down to your heels. Rest your forehead down and listen to your breathing. Observe the state of your mind, the state of your body, the state of your energy. With a slow inhalation, roll your spine upright to sit and slide your legs out in front of you. Let's prepare for a spinal twist. Slide the left leg straight and step the right foot in front of the right hip. Backstroke the right hand behind your pelvis. Flex the left foot and sit up a little taller. Raise the left arm, breathe in. Keep your hips still and twist to your right side. And then use that left arm to hold your right leg or to hook your elbow outside of that thigh. Continuing to allow the twist to deepen. A few more breaths. And so allow more of the yin energy here, where there's less efforting, less pushing or doing, and it's more about relaxing deeper into the posture. You might even lengthen your exhalations a bit longer than your inhalations, promoting that feeling of release and surrender. At the end of your next exhale, unwind the spine. Slide the right leg straight, flex the foot and bend the left knee. Step the foot in front of the hip, place the left hand behind your pelvis and raise your right arm. Feel the ground with your hips and lift the spine. Breathe in. Keep the hips as they are and twist to your left as you breathe out. Then lower your right arm. How might you cultivate the energy and feeling of allowing, relaxing a little more? Maybe exhaling a little slower. Maybe finding a more easeful version of the twist where we're not really trying to get to 100% depth. We're just relaxing into it more. As you breathe out, straighten both legs in front of you. Let's prepare for Paschimottanasana. Flex both feet. You have the option of using a strap as an extension of your arms here. We can free up the shoulders if they tend to rise up. Root down through the hips, breathe in, lift the chest, and then lead with the chest. Hinge forward from the hips, breath by breath. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Now, if your big toes are easily reachable without straining or rounding the back, you could clasp them with your peace fingers. Press down to your pelvis. And as you breathe in, slowly rise all the way up. Please find a comfortable seat for a pranayama practice to help us wind down a bit more, relax more deeply, and tune inward. This practice is called Durga Pranayama, 3-part breathing. So as you sit tall and relaxed, imagine that your torso, which is from your pelvic floor to the top of your neck, is a jar. And imagine dividing that jar into 3 cross sections. The first cross section is from your pelvic floor to your belly button, all the way around. The second or middle cross section encompasses most of your rib cage. And the third or top cross section is above that, your chest, upper back, neck, and shoulders. Now you might delineate the top and bottom parts by placing a hand on each. We're going to inhale 1/3 of the breath into the lowest cross section, then pause. We'll inhale another third into the middle cross section and pause. Then we'll inhale the last third to the top and hold the breath while relaxing. And through the nose, we'll empty the breath really slowly and hold the breath out. So that's 1 cycle. Let's practice 3 cycles of Durga Pranayama, or 3-part breathing, together, and then continue 3 cycles on your own before we let go of controlling the breath. Then notice how you feel. So prepare to start by inhaling fully through the nose. Let it out through the mouth. Close the mouth, maybe close the eyes. Inhale into the lowest part of your torso, 1/3. Pause. Inhale into the middle, 1/3. pause. Inhale onto the top, 1/3. Hold, relax. Through your nose, exhale very slowly. Hold, sit tall. Second cycle. Inhale the lowest part. Pause. Inhale the middle. Pause. Inhale the top. Hold it in. Exhale slowly. Hold it out. Last one together. Inhale the lowest part. Pause. Inhale the middle. Pause. Inhale the top. Hold. Exhale through the nose. Hold at the bottom. Then on your own, continue 3 more cycles. When you finish, let go of controlling the breath and observe how you feel. And when you're ready, please lower your body entirely onto the ground. Find a comfortable way to lie down and rest in stillness for a few minutes of Shavasana. Keeping your eyes closed, rest here a little longer as you observe how you're feeling now physically, sensing the effects of your practice. Be gentle with yourself. Integrate that practice of self-compassion as you begin to move small parts of your body first, slowly waking up the body. Graduate into an easy stretch. And eventually turn over onto your right side and rest your head. As you pause there, bring awareness to your breathing, just as it is, and feel your energy. Has your energy changed in some way through your yoga practice? And take your time to rise up. Please find a comfortable way to sit for 5 minutes sitting in meditation. So remember these three components of mindful self-compassion, which is giving yourself a gesture of authentic self-kindness, remembering our common humanity, and practicing mindful awareness of the emotions that arise, giving them space to express themselves, and really listening inward deeply with love. I invite you now in this meditation to take a moment to tune into your heart, sensing if any emotions are calling your attention right now, maybe layers of various emotions. With any emotion that may be present, I invite you to look into your body. Sense the way that emotion reveals itself through physical sensations or more subtle, energetic feelings of felt sense. For the remainder of this meditation, I invite you to continue to cultivate open, non-judging presence and awareness with whatever is moving through you right now, be it thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, subtle energy, and just welcoming the whole experience in the now without having to do anything about it, just observing. Let's come back to connecting with the energy of your heart. You might gently place a hand at the center of your chest, asking your own heart if there's anything it needs right now. And what kind gesture that feels authentic to you might you give yourself as we close this meditation? May our compassion that we cultivate within be a source of compassion that we share around us. And what is something you might offer gratitude for in this moment? Come back to your intention or personal prayer for your practice. Remember to whom or what you dedicated this practice today. And together, let's join our voices, chanting the sacred sound of Om 3 times. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.